Hello, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk Football. My name is John Halpin, alongside Chris Palmer. Chris Palmer, how are we doing today?
Doing good, man. What a week. Gonna have to call it the week of the blowouts, number 2.
It was the second week of blowouts in 2 weeks in the NFL, but man, we have a lot to get to this week, so we're going to start by getting our weekly recap, then we're going to be talking about a few games, and then we're going to shortly make our picks at the end of this episode. But let's start with our weekly recap with our Thursday night game, the Denver Broncos and the Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns, without Baker Mayfield, beat the Broncos 17-14. Your thoughts on the Browns without Baker Mayfield?
I want to start by saying very unfortunate that Baker Mayfield is down.
Yeah.
He is questionable to come back this Sunday against the Steelers, us coming off of our bye week. Case Keenum, though, kind of interesting game from him. He is a very solid quarterback as a backup. Nothing more than a backup quarterback. He can get the job done as long as he doesn't try to do anything doesn't try to be anything more than what he is, and that is a role player.
Mm-hmm.
He plays by the playbook, and he plays well because he gets the stars of the ball. You saw him do it. You saw him also do a couple of times where he tried to throw the ball 40 yards and threw an interception. So that is what I mean where he goes out of his comfort zone and the mediocrity shows.
Mm-hmm. Case Keenum is one of those quarterbacks where the Browns just need to ask him to be a game manager. Just be a game manager and distribute the balls to the playmaker. And for that, they were able to win the game against the Broncos. Now, I don't believe Baker Mayfield is set to return against the Steelers.
It's questionable at the moment.
But Nick Chubb is expected to return against the Steelers. So we're going to keep an eye on that and keep an eye on the injury report going into that game. But let's move on to actually my Ravens losing badly to the Cincinnati Bengals, 41-17. Man, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, they're for real, man. Like, what do you think of Jamar Chase?
Jamar Chase is one of the best wide receivers in the league, and I want to run something by you.
Okay.
That loss was the biggest deficit that the Bengals have beat the Ravens in team history, my friend.
You're breaking my heart, baby.
I'm just going to rip that Band-Aid off.
You're breaking my heart.
Before you read it in an article, I'm going to tell you as a friend. They gave you the biggest beating as a team.
It was a bad loss, but I only have one thing to say to the Bengals. Fuck the Bengals. With that being said, we're going to be moving on to the Green Bay against Washington, and Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers pretty convincingly beat Washington 24-10. Your thoughts on the Packers?
My thoughts on the Packers are kind of, the same as everyone else around when they look at the Packers. They're probably going to compete for an NFC Championship again. Mm-hmm. It's kind of clear as day that they are some of the front runners in the NFC yet again, season in, season out. It's unfortunate they lost Davonte Adams and the rookie that his name always defeats me.
Lazard.
Yeah. He's out as well. So both of them are out now. But Aaron Rodgers has shown time and time again throughout his career he can get it done with nobody. Doesn't need anybody.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is just one of those quarterbacks where he's just going to get it done. But with a short week, and he's short Davonte Adams and short Lazard, he's pretty thin on the receiving core. But Aaron Rodgers, I'll give you a fun fact, is 6-0 without Davonte Adams. So we're actually going to be talking about that game with Arizona later on in this episode. But I actually want to move on to the Giants and Carolina. And the Giants pretty convincingly beat Carolina 25-3. What happened with Carolina? What went wrong?
Well, they never got the minute problems in their offensive line figured out. Mm-hmm. He said earlier in the season that there was a couple of things that needed to be done on their offensive line, and then that offense would be okay. They never do that. They never did that. So that small hole became a gaping hole, and now it's something that's so big that I don't believe he's thrown a touchdown in games.
Yeah, he's
not playing well, meaning Sam Darnold. Not playing well. Them as a team are not playing well. Once again, Christian McCaffrey is hurt. Again, he's played 6 games since 2019. He's out for an additional 4 weeks because he was out 6 weeks from 2 weeks ago. So he's out for an additional month right now. To me, I feel it's time for Carolina to move on from Christian McCaffrey, and that's an unfortunate bullet to bite.
It is. But we'll keep an eye on that. because the trade deadline is November 2nd. So with that, we shall see if any teams make a move for any players. But with that being said, I want to move on to Miami and Atlanta. And the Atlanta Falcons actually coming away with the win against the Dolphins, 30-28. Your thoughts on the Dolphins, though?
Dolphins fight, but there's two major pieces that it's very obvious that they need, and that is a running back and a middle linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
They can't cover tight ends with anybody, and I'm going to give a shout out to the man, Kyle Pitts. That man said, my name is not being said enough right now. So he blew it up.
Mm-hmm.
He now holds the number 2 largest game in receiving yards for a rookie tight end ever in NFL history.
That's nasty.
Yes. I think he had 163 yards receiving last week.
Mm-hmm.
That's number 2 of all time as a rookie. So that's saying something.
We kind of expected Kyle Pitts to emerge as a tight end, and I think this was the game where he kind of made his emergence to the stage where he said, I am here and I am a player to be recognized, and he absolutely came to show up. But I do also want to give a shout out to Mike Gesicki because he's also playing unbelievable in Miami, and he needs to get some love as well. Tight ends everywhere are playing unbelievable.
Yes.
But we can get into that if we really want to. But another time. But let's move on to the Tennessee Titans convincingly beating the Kansas City Chiefs, the worst loss in Chiefs era under Andy Reid, 27-3. Derrick Henry had a passing touchdown.
I saw that, and that was a rough bit for Andy Reid. You can tell that was some salt.
That was.
I want to run something by you.
Okay.
Again, this is kind of a painful stat now.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Reid is 1-8 against the Titans.
That is
1-8.
That is bad. That is real bad. But that one win, AFC Conference.
Yeah, you win it where it matters.
Exactly. And then since then,
no haven't.
But man, Derrick Henry is looking like a beast, and he should be recognized as the MVP at the end of the year if he is to eclipse a lot of these rushing records
that he is completely on pace to do.
That he's on pace to do. So that's something to keep an eye out for at the end of this year. But I want to move on to the New England Patriots actually thwomping the Jets 54-13. Did anyone expect New England to ever have a 50 burger this year?
I don't think anyone expected anyone to really put up a 50-piece this year if it wasn't going to be either Buffalo or the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are really the more expected teams to throw at 50 because they've been the ones comfortably putting up 40.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, going to have to throw my hat down for Zach Wilson. He took a knee sprain. He's out for upwards of a month as well. So I believe Kelly, is this the last name of the quarterback that's playing now? Or something like that?
For the Jets?
For the Jets.
No, it's Joe Flacco.
Oh, that's right.
Because now he's on back on the New York Jets. So I don't know if he's going to be playing this upcoming week against Cincinnati, but
I think that was like a conditional 5th-round draft pick, depending on how many snaps he plays.
It breaks my heart to know that he's on the Jets again.
Back on the
Jets.
And he's actually on a statistically worse Jets team than he was last year.
Can we move on to Vegas and Philly? I don't want to break my heart over Joe Flacco and the Jets now. But Las Vegas convincingly beating Philadelphia 33-22. Raiders and Derek Carr, they're actually looking pretty good despite not having John Gruden. Tell me, Derek Carr, is he still on pace to have an MVP year?
I don't remember ever saying that he was going to have an MVP year. Let's hold the brakes on that one.
But he's playing extremely well.
He is playing extremely well. I will give you that. I don't know that he's playing MVP caliber. Okay. And I have a soft spot for Derek Carr.
I know you do.
That conversation shouldn't have. Pump the brakes. There's a lot more people in the league in other positions, not even in quarterback, that come before Derek Carr in that conversation.
Are you thinking Derrick Henry?
I'm thinking also Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah.
He should be in the conversation.
At least for now.
For now. But I will give them credit where credit is due. They have had 2 very impressive weeks these past 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to see them moving forward. They had the redemption game, which was 2 weeks ago, and then they had last week. They played very well. I want to see them move forward. I want to see them progress.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to be doing better as a team now that the negative energy is out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing more cohesively because there's no stagnant sludge in there.
Yeah. Complementary football. That's going to win games every time. But another team that is very good at complementary football is the Los Angeles Rams, beating Jared Goff and the Lions 28-19. Man, the Lions are fighting. Like, tell me, what are your thoughts on the Lions? Pretty quick.
My thoughts on the Lions are, always they're just snake bitten. They always find ways to beat themselves. They're one of those teams.
Are they going to get their one?
No.
No?
They're on pace to go winless.
Well, on pace, but
They're on
they're
pace
going to get one.
to match their winless season when they went 0-16.
No,
The last time-
17 now this year with the
But
extra
the last
game.
time they went 0-7, they went 0-16.
Oh God!
So I'm just saying they are on pace to go winless this year.
It is. I think they're going to get their one, but we shall see. But another team that actually got pretty thwomped is the Houston Texans. Got absolutely beat down by the Cardinals, 31-5.
Of course they did. Of course they did.
We didn't expect anything less.
No. And of course, here come the Cardinals. Again, they're 7-0, first time since 1974.
Mm-hmm.
Second time since 1974.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, come on. They're unbelievable. It's this game coming up against Green Bay is their more probable one loss before their bye week come week 12.
Yes.
If you look at the slate coming up that they have the next 4 games.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This is their one loss I see coming up to their bye week.
Mm-hmm. Other than that, the Cardinals have been playing absolutely phenomenal, but we didn't expect anything less from that game.
No.
Just like against Tampa Bay at Buccaneers against the Chicago Bears, Brady just put up another
Historic
week and just dominated the Bears 38-3. Tell me, for the fan that got the ball, that 600 touchdown ball, did he get a fair deal?
Listen, I just want it to be known they could have done nothing. So everyone who's crying that he should have held out and asked for more, I get how much the ball is going to be worth. It's going to be worth $600,000, that ball. So that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But they could have been like, give me that ball back and walked away. They could have gave him
No, because he exchanged it. That was...
They could have gave him nothing. They could have said, give it back or you're out of here now.
No. He was given the ball, but...
Right, and then they were like, we need that back. So they could have tried to do it a non-cordial way.
They were going to break his knees in the parking lot if he didn't give it up.
I mean, probably they were probably going to bomb him out with his center disguised as a freaking suit.
No, you know what it is? You just get a lead pipe and then you just tape it up. With a lot of tape. With a lot of tape. But with that being said, let's move on to the primetime game in the Indianapolis Colts and the San Francisco 49ers. And the Carson Wentz actually played pretty well. It was pretty rough conditions, but ultimately the Colts won 30-12. Your thoughts on the Colts?
They played well. San Francisco doesn't play well. They don't play well in the weather.
Mm-hmm.
They like to play in California. They were playing in the downpouring rain.
Yep.
So I like San Francisco better with Trey Lance, personally. Mm-hmm. Jimmy G is now becoming more of a liability with his injuries, and he's still pretty reckless with his own body. And on and off the field, on the field, he doesn't really know when to go down. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know when to throw the ball away. He takes a lot of rough hits that he kind of lines himself up for. I don't know. I kind of saw the Colts winning that one. I'm pretty sure I went with San Francisco to win that one. But looking into it as the week went on, it was I don't know. Kyle Shanahan is the better coach. I agree with that. But with the weather, how it came in, kind of saw that San Fran wasn't going to win that one.
I think being the expectation that Jimmy G is the vet and that being that he's comfortable in Kyle Shanahan's system, I thought that was a big advantage going into that week, being that he was kind of comfortable there. But looking at the game, it didn't look like anyone was comfortable on the field at all. Offense, defense, special teams, no on either side, no one looked comfortable on the field, and it showed. No one. It was wet. It was just one of those miserable nights.
Well, no one knows how to play in the weather anymore because everyone has an indoor air-conditioned field at all times on turf. They don't know how to play in the weather.
So, some teams. It depends on the team. Like 49ers, they're used to sunshine, and the Colts are obviously a dome team.
Right.
So being that, but Carson Wentz is pretty much an outdoor quarterback, being that he was in Philly for so long. So it doesn't matter to him.
He's braced every weather and that's on the East Coast.
Yeah. But surprisingly, it wasn't that bad in Seattle on Monday night, where New Orleans beat the Seattle Seahawks 13-10. Seattle, Russell Wilson's expected week 10, and I believe they have only maybe one or two more games before he comes back.
They're suffering without him, man. They are absolutely suffering. Like, you can see, like, they want to play well. It's just Geno Smith is not it.
No.
He's just not it. And that defense is still painful to watch.
Yeah.
You know, if Teddy Bridgewater can light your defense up, come on. Come on.
Well, Geno Smith is one of those quarterbacks. Seattle's definitely going to keep him for the end of the year. That's without a doubt. But whether he stays with Seattle at the end of the year, that is questionable. It was good for the Saints to get that win because, like you and I were saying before, it's kind of crucial for both teams at this point to kind of secure wins, and for New Orleans to get a win against soft competition. Now that Seattle is pretty much soft competition without Russell Wilson, it was a good win for the Saints. And going forward, I want to see how they are against tougher competition when they have to play against the Bucs and against other division opponents as well as NFC contenders as well.
Right.
So, with that being said, that is the Week 7 recap. It was a very fascinating week, but I actually want to move on to Week 8.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some games that we want to talk about, but we want to first talk about the Thursday night game, which is the Arizona Cardinals and the Green Bay Packers. So, Chris Palmer, I'll start you off. What are you looking forward to in that game?
I'm looking forward to a lot. I'm looking forward to, honestly, the matchup, tail of the tape between Kyler Murray and Aaron Rodgers as quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, Rodgers went 27 for 35, 274, 3 touchdowns. Last week, Kyler Murray went 20 for 28, 261, 3 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. So they are both playing at the highest of levels right now.
Oh, yeah.
One thing I saw with Green Bay, though, is they have issues with their right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
The right tackle gets blown up a lot. And that's ultimately where majority of Aaron Rodgers' sacks come from. So I saw that this upcoming week, J.J. Watt will not be in. Thankfully, he's on the left side.
Yeah.
Chandler Jones is on the right side. So that's going to be a fun matchup.
Yeah. Chandler Jones is going to be having a feast that game.
Yes, he's going to probably feast that game.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona is definitely the better. I feel they're the better team in that one. But tell me, what are you looking forward to?
Well, I got to say, both, like you were saying before, both quarterbacks are playing absolutely unbelievable. But I wanted to look at the Packers defense and see what is Arizona going to exploit on Green Bay's defense. And I actually don't think it's going to be so much leaning on Kyler Murray and the wide receivers. I think it's going to be more so with James Conner in the running game.
Mm-hmm.
The Green Bay Packers have a +5 differential. So when they're able to take the ball away from players and stop drives and get interceptions and recover fumbles. So they're able to get the ball. But one thing I saw was concerning is the Packers' defense is on average giving up per game 120 rushing yards per game. Remember how we discussed last week how the Chiefs were on average giving 130 yards?
Right.
The Packers, exactly. The Packers are not that. Like their running defense, it has a lot to be desired.
Yeah. And
so they have trouble stopping the run. And I think not only just with James Conner, but I think they're also going to have a tough time stopping Kyler Murray because he is one of the premier running quarterbacks in the league, other than Lamar. But
Yeah, I agree with that.
it's going to be very tough for the Packers defense to stop. Obviously, going into this game, everyone's talking about the absence of Davonte Adams, and now Lazard as well with Adams. So the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, they're actually 6-0 without Davonte Adams, and I think the betting line is actually 6.5 points.
Wow.
So the Packers are getting 6.5 points. So they're big underdogs going into this game.
Mm-hmm.
But Aaron Rodgers is still playing unbelievable. He has, for the year, he has 1,710 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 3 picks. He's playing very efficiently. But Kyler Murray has a 75% completion percentage, 2,000 yards, which is ridiculous, 17 touchdowns, 5 picks.
Right.
So he is playing lights out.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really nice to see. And I just don't think that the Packers defense can contain Kyler Murray. That's going to be what's going to separate the game. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is going to have his magic, because he just I don't know what it is. He's just magic or something like that. He eats his Wheaties every day. But
See, I'm going to have to agree with you when it comes to containing Kyler Murray, because look at what happened with Heineke. He ran for like 2 or 3 30-plus yard runs. He is not a running quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got a man like Kyler Murray coming up to the field who likes to run.
Yep.
And they're not an orthodox offense. They run trick plays. They run double reverses. They run passes that start with double reverses.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be definitely more of an interesting game in terms of their defense trying to contain that offense. I have to agree with you, but I think it's going to be more trying to contain the quarterback, because they struggle with mobile quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm. They do.
They struggle with mobile quarterbacks, and they still have a lot of screen reading issues, especially like wide receiver dump screens. Not really halfback screens, but more so in the wide receiving area. They do wide receiver screens. They get burned for 30 yards easily every single time.
Oh, yeah. And it's to build on that, the Arizona Cardinals are one of those teams that have extreme depth in their offense. They are one of few teams, especially in the NFC, where they're just absolutely stacked in multiple units on their offense. Their wide receiving core, their running back, their tight end core, and obviously all led by a very special quarterback.
Right.
And so you just think of Arizona's receiving core. Who, if you're Green Bay's defense, who are you going to double? Are you going to double DeAndre Hopkins? Well, okay, that sounds pretty reasonable.
But you have Christian Kirk on the left.
Oh, but you have Christian Kirk in the slot, and then you have who's on the other side? Oh, that's AJ Green.
Right. It's AJ
On
Green.
one-on-one coverage, of course. And Kyler Murray's, of course, he's going to give it to him because he has 75% completion percentage.
Let's also not forget about Rondell Moore.
And Rondell as a four.
Subs in at halfback.
I completely forgot about Rondell Moore, and it's like just goes to show that they have such a depth.
Oh, and by the way, Zach Ertz.
Oh yeah, they have Zach Ertz.
Completing that Super Bowl caliber offense, and I'm not even going to sugarcoat that. That is a Super Bowl caliber offense, and if you don't see that, you don't know what you're watching.
Their offense is a lot, but I think their defense can be.
It needs work.
Yes,
but
it's young. It's young in the places that it needs to be. I like Buda Baker a lot. He's a young safety that is very, very promising, and he's a playmaker.
He's like Byron Murphy.
Byron Murphy's very good.
I like him too. He's got to stop playing with emotion so much. He got a real stupid penalty last week where he walked by, he nudged someone in the back of the helmet with his face mask. It was 15 yards. Come on, don't be a fool. You guys are trying to do something right now. Don't be a fool.
Yeah.
And that was a foolish penalty.
I gotta say though, when it comes to Arizona's depth of offense, they have a plethora of wide receivers. But I actually wanted to take a look at the Green Bay wide receivers, especially now that they're without Davonte Adams and without Lazard as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Davonte Adams, I looked at his stats. He has, I told you before, Aaron Rodgers is about 1,700 yards. Davonte Adams has 744 yards. And how many?
About a true number one.
And 3 touchdowns. And he averages about 14 yards per reception.
Right.
Which is ridiculous. So basically, if he's looking for a first down, he's looking for Davonte Adams. He's very dependent on Davonte Adams. So I looked at their wide receivers. They have Randall Cobb, and I think this is one of those games where it's good to have Randall Cobb, someone that's Aaron Rodgers is comfortable with, that he's able to kind of look for to split the coverage, look for him in the zone coverage, or if he's on one-on-one on man, see if he can burn his man. But I wanted to run through the other wide receivers. They have Valdez-Scantling, who's not bad. He's not a bad wide receiver. But this is where they lose me. At this point, their third wide receiver going to this game is, I'm mispronouncing his name. I apologize. Equinemius St. Brown.
Oh, EQ St. Brown.
EQ St. Brown. That's a lot easier to say. So EQ St. Brown.
Yeah, I was actually going to give him a shout out. They say he was a wide receiver to watch.
Yes.
That man's tough.
Him.
And he can play.
And their fourth one going into this game is Amari Rogers.
Yes.
So
Amari Rogers.
So
when they drafted him,
they have young talent, and I think one of these guys might emerge this game.
I think it's going to be EQ. Honestly, like I saw him in the highlights last week. I think this could be a game where he steps up and becomes like their flex receiver. Yeah. Where it's almost like he becomes like Rondale Moore, like their number 4 running in and out of the flex, and he kind of will surpass Rodgers.
I think it will be really nice if Green Bay is able to take advantage of their third cornerbacks on Arizona, then I think they'll have a good chance, because if Arizona is going to be doubling, say, Randall Cobb, if EQ St. Brown has a game, so be it. I don't think that it's like, okay, you just beat us with a receiver that we just did not expect, or Amari Rogers. Like, okay, at that point,
for sure.
Yes. But I honestly think this is going to be a pretty high-scoring game. I see something like 34-31, something high-scoring to that effect, because I don't think Green Bay's defense is going to succeed in containing Kyler Murray, and I don't think that Arizona defense is going to really put the pressure on Rodgers too much.
Especially now with J.J. Watt being at a deficit, being there.
Yeah, and I think Rodgers, again, he's one of those quarterbacks that we just love to see, where he just calls the blitz, calls the double team, and sets the blocking and stuff. So he knows what to do. It's like, oh, where's Chandler Jones? Found you.
Right. That's one of the greatest parts about watching Aaron Rodgers play. Is like you can tell, like, all the years of experience, he's no longer playing as hard as he used to. He's just playing smart.
Yes.
So he did it against Pittsburgh, where he actually looked at Mike Tomlin. He goes, "Gotcha," and Mike Tomlin couldn't help but look him back across the field and be like, "You got me." It's like
it was smooching at each other.
That shows respect between two old dogs veterans of the game.
Oh yeah.
But he's going to do that to the young players. He's going to do that to Arizona. And I kind of agree with you that this is going to be a pretty high-scoring game. I could see a 60, 65-point come out between two teams.
I can see it. I think this is also going to be one of those games where whoever has the ball last is going to win.
Yes.
And you wouldn't want, if you're Arizona and it's a one-possession game going into the fourth, you're in trouble.
That ball. Yeah.
You're in trouble at that point. You strayed off the formula, or something went wrong.
Something went way wrong, and if you give them the ball, it's already been proven, if you give them the ball with anything more than 10 seconds left on that clock, and I'm not exaggerating, 10 seconds or less, there's a chance that Green Bay won't come back. But if you give them anything more, they will come back.
37 seconds, no timeouts against San Francisco.
Stretches, cracks his neck, and goes touchdown.
No, he sets up for the field goal.
Right.
And just 2 passes, boom, boom, done. That's it. And but this is, again, one of those games where it's going to be whoever has the ball last is going to win the game. And do you have any final thoughts going into this game? It's going to be a really good Thursday night game.
I think the biggest point about this game in particular is, again, this is probably Arizona's, honestly, their best chance.
But their toughest.
At losing.
Yeah.
Before their bye week.
Yeah.
Come week 12.
Yeah. It's the biggest chance for them to lose.
Correct.
Going into this weekend.
coming into like this slate of games, it's Green Bay, and then they play Philly, Carolina, Seattle, and then I think they play the Bears as well.
Okay.
And then it's their bye week.
Okay, then I could see pretty much them winning all of that.
This is their one chance at losing before their bye week.
Yep.
And I kind of want to see them get that loss before their bye week so they can go in, refresh, and come out.
Yeah.
I've seen the bitter end of going undefeated into your bye week and then coming out gassed.
11-0?
Yeah. 11-0. You know,
It was promising.
it was, it was a puttering end is what it was.
It's, I think this wouldn't be a game it wouldn't be a bad loss because it's like, okay, where do we need to get better? And I think sometimes losses can be better for teams, like, in the long run, when it's like, okay, look, where can we be better? And, like, for instance, like, I'm very happy that, I don't mind that my Ravens lost, but I'm happy that we're battle-tested. And some teams, they just are the Packers are just battle-tested.
Right.
They can just do it. The Cardinals, we have yet to see that. We just see them kind of like what the Ravens were doing 2 years ago, where they're just kind of like exploding out the game, just winning
moving
games.
through people, right?
Yeah, just moving through people, just blowing everyone out. Right. So I want to see them in close games, and I think this is probably going to be the
closest game on their schedule, I would think.
So far.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I actually want to move on to what feels like a playoff game or a must-win game, and that is your Steelers against the Browns. And you can have the floor, Nate. Tell me what you think going into this game.
Well, first off, I'm going to have to agree with you 100%. This game and every game here out for Pittsburgh is a must-win. We're coming into this game off of a bye week at 500 at the bottom of the division. You and the Bengals are 5-2. The Browns are 4-3. We have to win. We have to deadlock this division.
Yep.
We have to deadlock it at 2 apiece. At that point, it's a two-way tie for both first and second place.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to win this game and every game here on out. I think going into this game, obviously, you can't have Ben Roethlisberger throw 35 or more times. He threw 40 times before the bye week. After the bye week, he should not be throwing that many times. That should just be apparent. But when he does throw, who I do really want to see have a day is Davonte Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows Chase Claypool is going to be the number one. I want to see everyone underneath Chase Claypool do what they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see Deontay do well. I want to see James Washington do well. I want to see Ray McLeod. Mm-hmm. You and I spoke off there about Ray McLeod. He is very tough for a small receiver. Mm-hmm. His route running is unbelievable. For everyone going to watch this game, if it's broadcasted, watch out for Ray McLeod. He is a very tough little receiver. And of course, you have to feed the beast that is in the backfield at Najee Harris.
I wouldn't say he's a beast just yet, but he's having a pretty good season so far.
He's a beast. He's a rookie, but he's a beast.
Mm-hmm.
You said the same thing about Derrick Henry when he was a rookie. I wouldn't say beast just yet.
Yeah.
But look at him now.
And then he proved it.
After 2 years.
Yeah.
His third year, he broke out.
And he proved it.
So we're going to give Najee Harris the same respect. He's got it in 2 years.
He's got to prove it.
All right. I mean, he's kind of proving it now. He's the top 8 rusher as a rookie.
He is. But I will ask you this, Chris Paul. Are the Steelers willing to run the ball? We know that Najee can, and that he is having a pretty good year so far when they do lean on him. But do they stick to that formula?
They have no choice but to because of how hurt Ben is playing. Mm-hmm. He's playing with a pectoral injury still and a hip injury still. That pectoral injury hasn't gone away. He got slapped on week 1, or I think it was either week 1 or week 2. He got thrown to center field. And he ruptured his throwing pectoral. And he's been playing with it since. Dude's unbelievably strong. I'll never take that away from him. Yeah. His willpower is stronger than his body. And it's a detriment. But it's kind of impressive to watch still. Knowing that this man's coming in, he can barely walk and barely throw, and he's still throwing 40 times for 300 yards and a couple touchdowns. Pretty impressive to watch. But I want to see Najee Harris, and I do believe that we will be more dedicated to him as the season goes forward.
Mm-hmm.
We have no choice but to. He's too good not to dedicate.
Yeah. And I gotta say, Ben is playing okay. I have written down that he has 1,500 yards thrown for the year, which is pretty good so far for the year.
Mm-hmm.
7 touchdowns to 4 picks. So he's averaging about a touchdown a game. So you and I have spoke about Ben like ad nauseum, but I will say this though. He and we've discussed this where you can't lean on him anymore. He can get you there. He can be like that manager. He can manage the game and he can distribute the ball to where he needs to go. But he is not going to be the one winning your games. And it's going to be more so on your defense making plays, making stops. And the more you lean on Najee, the better it will be for you guys in the long run.
You see, I agree with that to an extent when it comes to leaning on Najee and us being better in the long run, because you also have to look at the lethality of our receiving core.
Mm-hmm.
You can't not utilize
Oh,
them.
yeah, you got to give it to them.
You have to give it to them. So, in that sense, you have to let Ben do his thing, and he has to throw the ball. That's why I'm saying...
But split the load.
Right, like they were doing when we were recapping up to 3-3. You know, we had lost 2 in a row from throwing the ball 50-plus times. 2 games in a row, he threw under 40 times, and we won because Najee Harris ran the ball 20-plus times and had over 120 yards rushing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the formula's there. We see it. And now I'm sure in this bye week, Mike Tomlin and the coordinators have watched all 6 weeks' worth of film to see what works, what doesn't work, and how we're going to move around Juju and everyone else being hurt and playing with people hurt and doing this and doing that. It's just another season in the AFC North.
Yep.
You know, at some point, every team breaks their stride and they start winning games in the AFC North. Bengals are doing it right now. So are you guys. You guys are 5-2.
Yep.
Browns, they were doing it. Now Baker's hurt. Now it's our turn to do it. Now we're going to break our stride. It's just how it works. And it seems like now we have 4 formidable teams in the AFC North versus 2.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's what makes the AFC North so brutal, is because now it's probably the toughest division in the AFC. Maybe not the whole league, because the NFC West is absolutely ridiculous. But all the teams in the AFC North are competitive. Actually, three out of the 4 teams made it to the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, it's you have to win games, and I think for the Steelers, getting back to all of this from where we started, this is a must-win game because Baker Mayfield is out. The Browns are hurt. You have to take advantage of this. You have to win the games that are crucial, and that's why it feels like a playoff game, because especially at the end of the year, the Steelers have a brutal gauntlet of games.
And we finished with the Browns.
You finish with the Browns, and there's a lot of divisional games in the back end there. Yeah. So it's going to be very tough for the Steelers going forward. But your final thoughts on that game? Tell me, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, what's your confidence level going into this game?
Without Baker, my confidence is at like an 8 or a 9.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
With Baker, that's a different team.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but with Case Keenum?
Case Keenum, again, we're just overall better because we have the better quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Even hurt, Ben is a better quarterback than Case Keenum will ever hope to be. That's how it is.
That is true.
You know, in every sense of the word, Ben Roethlisberger is a better quarterback. He's just better.
He is. Yep.
So, going to be an interesting game to watch.
Crucial game to see how these teams are going to be in the playoff standings later on in the season. But I want to move on to some more division rivals in the AFC, being the Bills and the Dolphins. Now, the Bills are coming off their bye week, correct?
Yes.
And the Dolphins are coming off a pretty heartbreaking loss against the Falcons.
Second heartbreaker in a row.
So, tell me, what is going on with the Dolphins?
I said kind of in our recap, they are missing 2 very crucial pieces on both sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. 1 on each. They need a running back. Myles Gaskin's not the guy. You know, Our buddy Travis has been saying it. He is not the guy.
Shout out to you, T. You know you're right.
At one point, you and I both tried to defend Miles. There's no defending that man anymore. He
Well,
cannot do it alone.
Yes.
He is a stout. He's like James Conner. He needs someone else. Shout out James Conner. He's found a new home in Arizona.
Yes.
It's just what happened. That's the same thing Miles Gaskin. They need a secondary running back.
Mm-hmm.
And they need a middle linebacker. They need someone who can drop into zone coverage, cover the middle of the field, and they need someone who can come up and fill a hole when it comes to zone runs.
Mm-hmm.
They need someone like that. They have a couple of really good people with at D tackle, DN, what have you. They have no linebacking core. They have no linebacking core, and because of that, their secondary has to come up, and their safeties really have to lay back with their all along. And that's leading to the big plays that we've seen all last week with Kyle Pitts.
Yep.
Because there's just no one bigger or fast enough to keep up with him or take him down alone.
Yep.
And that's what happened.
And we kind of expected Kyle Pitts to have a breakout game, but it was just unfortunate that it had to be against Miami, especially being that they need to kind of find their footing in that sense. And that was a game that we talked about last week where both teams were kind of struggling, and they needed that game to kind of find their way. And it looks like Atlanta found their way by having the emergence of a playmaker. I think for the Dolphins, I completely agree with you on both ends that they do need a running back. Now, they had 29 rushing attempts last week against the Falcons and 132 yards between 4 running backs. So Myles Gaskin, he was 15 for 67. 2 was 4 for 29. Salvan Ahmed was 7 for 26, and Malcolm Brown was 3 for 10. So with that being said, they can run as a unit, and to your point, Myles Gaskin can't do it alone. And the Dolphins were able to actually kind of find a running game and find the holes because Atlanta is not a defensive-oriented team. They're not going to care so much. The defense is not the priority in Atlanta. So it was nice to see that Tua and the offense can establish the run and can get the offense going. But as you and I were saying before, they were kind of a second half team. They only scored a touchdown in the first half, and they had the rest in the second half, and just it kind of was a little too late at that point.
Yeah, but interesting enough, they outscored Atlanta 21-17 in the second half.
Yeah, they did.
I do also want to give a shout out to someone on Miami as a player to watch, Javon Holland, safety.
Okay.
The number defeats me, but he got a really cool, a really sick interception at some point in that game, and he's very physical. He's all over the field.
Okay.
So he's a definite player to watch this game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the Bills side, something that I think can maybe be a little concerning is a week 6 bye week can be considered early this year. And I want to see what Buffalo comes out after the bye week.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see if the early bye week hurts them or not. I hope it doesn't because they went in with a head of steam. But now they have to play the entire back end of this season, that is 10 games, with no break.
Yeah, but I know if you look at the Bills' schedule, it's actually the rough part of their schedule has already passed.
It's over. I agree with that.
Which was the Chiefs and the Titans, and being that they came out of both of those weeks came out of that 1-1, it's like okay, that's fine. But
like we've said, this is a game of attrition.
Exactly.
So you did the front 7, but you just had a break, and now you have 10 weeks of nonstop, and now you're going into the winter where it's just getting colder, the weather's getting worse, people are starting to hit, things are going to start hurting more. So it's going to be a completely different beast for 10 games.
It is. It's just a matter of if they can stay healthy and stay consistent. The Bills are a very consistent team where you kind of know what they're going to do. They're going to throw the ball with Josh Allen. They're going to run it a little bit, but that's not their priority. But they're mostly going to give it to their playmakers at wide receiver, mostly Stephon Diggs. Knox is an emerging tight end who's really showing his own in Buffalo.
Majority of their tight ends.
Yeah, and
their touchdowns.
And yeah, he's absolutely just having a ball this year. But this is one of those divisional games. This is not going to be the shutout that it was in week 2.
Absolutely not.
This is not going to be that game.
There's gonna be a fight. There's gonna be a fist fight.
This is going to be a lot closer of a game, I feel. And Miami is going to be able to score.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if they're going to be able to win, but they are going to be able to score. Tua is not the problem, and I earlier this week actually, Miami was in trade talks with Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans. So Miami is interested for that. I know Watson actually is willing to waive his trade clause to go to Miami. But I think this is so unfortunate for Tua because he's a good quarterback. He's a capable quarterback. They just need to obviously his injury and his unavailability due to that injury kind of hurt them in the standings of the AFC, being that the AFC is so competitive this year. You have just fighting for playoff spots. You have the Bengals, the Ravens, the Steelers, the Browns. You could just put that whole division. You got the Chargers. You still put the Chiefs. The Chiefs are pretty deadly. Now the Raiders are here to play.
Most of the AFC West.
Yeah, most of the AFC West. And then you also got the Titans as well. So there's a lot of competition. Oh, and by the way, the Bills.
I also want to go back to your point on Watson and that trade idea. I was actually watching SportsCenter today. There's a chance that Goodell puts him on the commissioner's exempt list where he will not be able to leave until his cases are set forth.
Okay.
So until all 22 of his allegations and 10 investigations.
Mm-hmm.
So out of those 22, 10 are being investigated criminally.
Mm-hmm.
Until all 10 of those are cleared up, there's a chance he may not go anywhere.
And I'm perfectly fine with that.
I'm perfectly fine with that too in more ways than one.
Yes, let his legal situation play out as it is, and then his football career can be that's secondary.
Right.
He needs to settle out his legal arbitration.
You need to learn what type of human he is before he puts on a uniform.
Yeah.
If he is like the human that these allegations are saying he has no room in this league.
But let me ask you this though: if Miami is willing to trade for Watson, what does that say about their faith in Tua?
You see, and that's what hurts. That's almost like the Eagles with Jalen Hurts. It's like you are toying with this man at this point. I hope that they just scratch the entire idea of picking up Watson, of even looking at Cam. You have a good quarterback in Tua.
Mm-hmm.
I like Tua. It's unfortunate that he came in off of a dislocated hip. He was still a first-round draft pick with a first dislocated hip.
Mm-hmm.
That says something. That he didn't lose stock because of a dislocated hip as a running quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
That says a lot as to who he is as an athlete and as a football player. So I feel like Miami as a franchise should really just hang on tight. It's going to be a little bit of a growing process because of his injuries. All fine and well.
Yeah.
It took Kyler Murray 4 years.
Yep.
And a couple injuries. He got hurt his rookie year with an ankle injury.
And last year as well.
And last year he got hurt as well. Growing pains. It happens. There's a 100% chance you're going to get hurt in football.
Yes.
It happens.
I completely agree with you. And I think for the Dolphins, they should be kind of in that situation that some AFC teams are with young quarterbacks, where you shouldn't be looking for wins at this point. You should be looking for progress. And I think their defensive struggles persist, being that they kind of gave up those yards to Atlanta. One thing I did want to mention is last year they actually had Kyle Van Noy from the Patriots, and now he's back on the Patriots. And I think that was probably a big loss because that was a veteran presence who knew his assignment within zone coverage and covering man and knowing when to blitz.
That was their linebacker that they
and I think his absence is shown on Miami this year on defense. But tell me, the Bills, they're riding hot. Do you think that it's possible that the AFC title game is going to be in Buffalo this year?
You see, with how close the AFC really is, you can't judge the league this year.
Mm-hmm.
the talent gap. You look at the NFC, for example. 6-1, 6-1, 5-2, 5-2, 5-2.
Well, also the Cardinals are 6-0.
And 7-0.
So 7-0. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then you look at the AFC. First off, we're going to go with the AFC North. 5-2, 5-2, 4-3, 3-3. AFC East. 5-1.
And now the Bills are what? They are 4-2.
4-2.
4-2. Yep.
Yeah. So it's like the talent that when it comes to these contending teams is so tight knit. You can't say who's going to clinch the conference.
Mm-hmm.
You know, say we're going to get the first round bye. It's not as clear cut anymore. It used for 15 years. It was Tom Brady. You know, he's the holder of the AFC, and that's what it was.
And I love seeing the power dynamic shift in the AFC.
I love it. And even in the NFC, the power shift is switching. You know, again, the entire NFC West, save for the Seahawks now. But 3 out of 4 teams are going to be in the playoffs.
I don't know about San Fran.
Okay, agreed. If Trey Lance comes back and picks up a head of steam, he could probably hit a wild card spot.
I don't know about that either, but we're going to talk more about San Francisco later on. But I do want to say this about the Dolphins and the Bills. If Miami does come out on top against the Bills, that is really big for.
Probably the biggest win as a team.
That would be a really big win because since Josh Allen has come into the league, he's 5-0 against the Dolphins. So he hasn't lost against the Dolphins, and
that would be a cool down for the Buffalo Bills. They come in lithium hot off a bye week and they lose to a heartbreaker Miami team who has literally had their hearts broken twice in 2 weeks.
Well, the Bills also lost to a heartbreaker when Josh Allen slipped in Titans territory.
Yeah, but they've been lithium hot even through that.
They've been playing very well, and I think, honestly, when it came to the Bills and looking at their stats, because statistically they're a good team, but I think that it's a little inflated because of that Week 2 game that they had against Miami where they won 35-0. Right. And I think, although the Bills are a good team, they're not, I wouldn't say, as lithium hot. They are mortal as like any other team, and they can lose. And I think one way that they can lose is how the Titans beat them, where it's obviously Derrick Henry's going to run, but that run defense, though. I think that run defense might be the weakness to beating Buffalo. If you can run the ball on them, then you have a chance. But the trick is Miami's not a good running team.
They don't have a running back.
So they have tandem of running backs that aren't going to do crap.
Right. They have a slew of people who can run the ball, but they don't have a true number one running back.
Yeah.
You know, you saw it with Derrick. Derrick Henry is an anomaly. We really can't compare the rest of the league's running backs to Derrick Henry.
Half-baked idea, Christian McCaffrey.
He's too injured. You can't have an injury-prone quarterback and an injury-prone halfback at once. You can't do it. You got to go into the draft.
I don't know, man.
You can't do it. You can't. Sure, it sounds nice that McCaffrey and Sam Darnold. You and I both bought into that this season.
Actually, I was a little distant on that.
I don't know, man. They went 3-0 and you were looking at them pretty nice. I saw you.
I was looking at their defense pretty nice.
Well, yeah, their defense plummeted to rock bottom, and it's upsetting. From the most sacks to letting up 5.
But getting back to the Bills in Miami, I will say this. I think Miami is going to be able to score on Buffalo.
For sure.
And I hope they can win this game. I just doubt it because they're at, like you said, at a deficit on a lot of key positions on the field.
Yeah, Buffalo's the clear better team coming in, even off the bye week. It's, again, the longevity of having, and of course, because they play in Buffalo and it gets so bitter cold in Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the extent of their hard games are done, but now they've got to fight the biggest defender of the year. That's Mother Nature.
Yeah.
You know, they have to fight the bitter cold. They're going to have to fight the wind. They're going to have to fight the cold, sleety, freezing rain of Buffalo. And they've done it, but you guys got to do it against an AFC that is different now.
It is a white-hot AFC, and it's just great to see a lot of the teams there. But I actually want to move on to an NFC matchup this upcoming week. And that's two teams that are not looking so hot, but are looking to get hot. And that is the Bears and the 49ers. Now, both teams lost pretty bad to last week. The Bears got completely outplayed by the Bucs in every phase of the game. Tom Brady had his way against the Bears. The Bears are struggling on offense, but the Niners also looked to struggle last week on prime time against Indy. Now, obviously, the conditions were not ideal, but tell me, what are your thoughts going into this game? I know you kind of want Chicago to win, but tell me, how bad is that? Is that O-line?
It's not even. You look at that game that they played against Tampa, and to your point, the Buccaneers exploited their flaws, not just on that offense, on that defense too, in every way, shape, and form.
Every way. Yep.
They put the Bears on notice that they are not as good as they've been portrayed. Literally, everybody has been drinking the Kool-Aid about Chicago, saying that defense is ridiculous. Nay. Khalil Mack is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
That defense is pedestrian. And Tom Brady showed it. They have a lot of issues on that defense. Unless it's Tom Brady being the anomaly, I'm pretty scared to see where Chicago's going now.
Mm-hmm.
Especially on that defense. That defense is nothing compared to what they were, say, 3 years ago, when they were one of the best defense in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're middle of the road to almost one of the bottom tier defenses in the league right now. Khalil Mack, he'll always be an anomaly. He'll be an anomaly. He'll be great, no matter where he goes. Chicago is full of issues. No answer for Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette ran all over you?
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Come on. This man is so past prime.
Yeah, but you know what it is after they scored 35 points, they were just like, just take it. Just take the ball.
It was 21-0 with 10 minutes left in the second quarter.
Yeah.
No,
And,
dude.
At that point, they knew that they're just running the ball to kill clock.
Right.
They were killing clock in the second quarter.
Right.
Which is
It
ridiculous.
was garbage time in the first half. That shouldn't be a thing. But they're not going to see that this week with the 49ers.
No.
But what they will see is they're going to see a better coach in Kyle Shanahan than Matt Nagy. They're going up against Kyle Shanahan. He's going to coach a better formulated team than Chicago. And I feel that the 49ers are going to come out on top of this one, but it's not going to be pretty on either side.
No.
So, what do you see?
I see both teams struggling, but I also kind of see mirror matches.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a team in the 49ers last week kind of playing not to lose, rather playing to win. And I know that was something that we discussed last week, and that is something that I kind of saw, not only with them, but New Orleans and Seattle as well.
Both of them.
Like both teams played not to lose. And the 49ers kind of played that way too.
Yeah.
Where they were systematic and formulaic in the first half. But at a certain point, Carson Wentz and the Colts were just kind of flexed their muscles and said, "No, we're gonna take this game."
Right.
And they took the game. And I gotta say, I do like seeing the Colts, especially with that defense, shutting down the 49ers to less than 15 points. I was like 12 points or something like that. It was crazy. It was it was nice to see that defense work. But to your point, the Chicago Bears defense, they're not going to hold the 49ers to 12 points.
No.
They do have some playmakers that I do like to see. Deebo Samuel. He is a stout wide receiver that people have been sleeping on. He's number 19 on the 49ers. He is a scrappy wide receiver that I just love watching. He's so physical. And you wouldn't think for his size that he would be as physical as he is, but he is a playmaker, and I enjoy seeing him make plays because he's not only good splitting the coverage, but he's also good on end arounds as well. And he's good in utilization in the run game as well.
You see, it's actually funny that you mentioned him. You know who he actually reminds me of? Steve Smith Sr.
Yes, that is a good comparison.
You know what I mean? Like very scrappy, very physical, not afraid to jack you up as a defenseman on the line, jack you up, and then he's going to go for his route, and then he's going to talk shit after he catches the ball. You know, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to be like, "I'm better than you," and then he's going to prove it.
Yep.
And that's what I like in Deebo Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he has that chip where I'm the best player on the field right now.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't portray that through his mouth, but he does it through his play.
Yep.
And he's not the best player on the field, but he plays as though he is. And he plays really, really solid. So I'm happy that you brought him up.
He is really a player to watch. But when I was watching that game for the 49ers on that primetime game, I was looking at the rest of the receiving core. I'm like, okay, I like Brendan Ayuk. He didn't get many touches throughout that game, but I like seeing him. He's a playmaker, but he's young. He just needs a little bit more experience. Charlie Warner he's another wide receiver that I have no idea who the hell he was, and that was kind of the first time seeing him, and I'm like, okay, he's a good second string wide receiver.
Right.
And then I didn't know Mohamed Sanu was on the 49ers either. I was like, wow, he's still playing. He's still
San
playing.
Francisco, right.
I didn't even know. So I think the Niners, they do have a good team around them. Their running game concerns me a little bit, though, because their leading rusher was some guy I haven't heard of, Eli Mitchell.
He's a rookie.
He was 18 for 107, averaging about 6 yards a carry, and he had a touchdown. So he was a good player to watch. Mm-hmm. And I think the 49ers, they have a young offense that you just need to kind of give them the ball and give them that experience. I just don't know if they're going to be able to cash out because of that inexperience. And so it's going to be a little tough. I also didn't know that Josh Norman was on the 49ers. I was like, wait, you're
still playing?
You're still playing? I'm looking like, that would be where Richard Sherman would have been, but he's in Tampa. So
my question is San Francisco starting to become the place where veterans go it's a purgatory?
It seems to me that what San Francisco was doing is they had their best team under Kyle Shanahan 2 years ago. But since then, they've been trying to plug holes. Mm-hmm. And although you kind of need it, they have been drafting pretty well too, young players, but they don't get the ball enough that they make a difference in the game. Mm-hmm. So they need a little bit more experience in that regard. But I don't know. It just seems that against the 49ers will definitely appear to be the better team, especially being, I want to get back to, as I said to you before, like the Bears and how bad that offensive line is. I told you a stat off air earlier, but I want to tell you guys real quick. So I just Googled how many times was Justin Fields sacked, and it said Justin Fields has been sacked 22 times. That's so far the most in the league. He's getting sacked 14% of the time he tries to pass. No other quarterback is above 10%. So every about 10 times he goes to pass, he's getting sacked.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous to think about. And it's also, he ranks 30th in the league of pass attempts. He has 131 pass attempts. So you can't pass the ball when you're on the ground as a quarterback.
Right.
So it's so frustrating because he's such a spectacular athlete when he gets the chance, but he just can't. And I think it's such a detriment to the Bears. I think it was good to start him, but they should have started him at week 1 because then in preseason you get the reps. Now they're trying to establish chemistry with their wide receivers and their playmakers on offense, and the offensive line has no idea. They're used to having a veteran quarterback and Andy Dalton call the blocks and call the Mike linebacker. Now you have a rookie quarterback who can't really read the defense, and that's it. And it shows. Like, he needs more help on the line because he needs more time, and I think it may be hurting him in a sense where now it's kind of forcing him where he's kind of got to get in that mindset of it's disrupting his internal clock, because every quarterback has that clock where it's like 1, 2, 3, go. He might even be just a second and a half. He might be 1, oh, I got to go.
Well, yeah,
And
that stems from what we used to talk, what we have been exclusively talking about with the Jets and the Giants, is the lack of offensive line is showing the lack of productivity on the offense.
Yep.
You know, and that's just the way it goes, and that's the way it goes around the board, and that is Andrew Luck syndrome. I call that shit Andrew Luck syndrome. You aren't going to learn from what happened with the Colts and Andrew Luck. He played there 8 years, was one of the most unbelievable quarterbacks to come through Indianapolis. They never got on an offensive line. The dude got injured out, and he was forced to retire early. So with these young quarterbacks, they're fucking all really good. They're all really good. Daniel Jones is really good. Zach Wilson, really not bad.
he's not bad.
Trey Lance, could be better.
Yeah.
Justin Fields, could be better. All of them have the same problem. They don't have an offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't really show. You look at all of their college stats and all of their college highlights, the football program has an offensive line where they were from.
Mm-hmm.
So they could play and show why they needed to be drafted. Now they're here and they're in these circus realms of freaking franchises. Justin Fields, he's in a predicament where he was drafted, was told he was going to be a starter, and in the offseason they picked up someone who's Andy Dalton.
I have no
They committed
idea
to him.
I have no idea why the hell they picked up Andy Dalton.
That was the most ass-backwards off-season decision I have ever seen in any franchise. We're going to go with this guy. He's a talent. But wait, there's more. We're going to bring in...
We're going to bring in the Red Rifle.
Right, we're going to bring in the Red Rocket. And it's like, what? Why? And, oh, by the way, we're going to commit to him as our starter. What? Why? But we're going to not... He's not going to play a snap in the preseason. What is the matter with you?
It really just goes to show that one thing that, to your point with Andrew Luck, is no matter how talented your quarterback is, if you don't have a line to protect him, he's not going to last in the league.
No.
And that's just a fact. And it sucks to see Justin Fields. It's a good organization, but they haven't been ready for this.
Absolutely not.
They were not ready for this. And I think I would like to see the Bears make some moves in the offseason. They got to, I guess, kind of slim down on the defense a little bit and kind of invest more in their offensive line and invest in putting Justin Fields in a situation where he's kind of like Baker Mayfield, where it's like you put the team around him and it's like, look, this team is tailor-made for you. Now you can succeed.
Now go.
Now you're in the best position to succeed and the organization to succeed.
But even in that, that's the same position that Daniel Jones was in. You know, the Giants set him up. Well, here, we gave you the pieces, and then everybody got hurt. You know, everyone got hurt, and then again, they lost their offensive line.
They lost their line, and they just basically stacked it with playmakers.
Right.
Where you have wide receivers, tight ends, but no line.
No offensive line. It's like now he has to play on sheer unorthodox play and unorthodox play alone, where everything is a scramble play, everything is a make it as you go play.
And that's exactly what Justin Fields is referring to.
Right.
And everything is kind of a make it happen play.
Right. Make it happen because I have to versus because this is going to be saucy.
Yeah.
You know, everything doesn't always have to be unorthodox and a desperation play.
Yeah.
And that's what it is for a lot of these young quarterbacks.
For our fans, I just want you to know there are no 14-point plays in the NFL. And although the Chiefs may have you believe otherwise, there are no 14-point plays in the NFL.
It's just not how it works. You know, they were a cheat code for 2 years, and then that was about it.
Yeah.
You know, Patrick Mahomes was like, I'm going to bring the sport of baseball and football.
But any final thoughts on the 49ers and the Bears?
This game, I just see a bunch of fundamental issues coming from both sides. This game, I see that it's going to be very underwhelming to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I do highly recommend people watch this game just to see, you know, growth potential growth in both teams, offensively, defensively, quarterback-wise, however you want to see it. Also, if you want to see Kyle Shanahan coach a not well-oiled machine and do well with what he has, if you know what you're watching and you can see the coaching that Kyle Shanahan has,
Mhm.
it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
When it comes to watching a playbook run,
Mhm.
But that takes a very more trained eye than just sitting down watching a football game.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true, but we're all going to be sitting down and watching the primetime game, which is the Dallas Cowboys and the Minnesota Vikings. Now, you can have an untrained eye or not. The Cowboys are playing extremely well.
Yeah.
You don't need to go into the X's and O's of football to understand that, look, they are playing phenomenal lately. Their defense is playing pretty well. Trayvon Diggs is playing absolutely out of his mind. He's breaking out this year, and no, I don't think anyone saw this coming. I got to say, though, the Vikings, they're going to make this worth a primetime game because although their record may not suggest it, they are playing very well.
I agree.
They are playing extremely well lately. And I got to say, I like the way Kirk Cousins has been playing lately. He has a 69% completion percentage, 1,700 yards, 13 touchdowns to 2 picks.
Wow.
He is efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was also thinking Minnesota is another one of those teams, like we were kind of talking about with Arizona, where they have depth within their offense.
Just about everywhere.
Minnesota has depth in their offense, not only in their receiving corps, but also their running back corps, because they also have Dalvin Cook as well as Madison. Madison. Was it
You think so?
I think so, yeah. But it was great core. And I was like, how are they distributing the ball? And I was looking, I see Adam Thielen, he has 37 receptions for 393 yards, 5 touchdowns. But the stat that jumped out to me was he's averaging about 10 yards a catch. I was like, that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
But I looked, I was like, okay, but what about Justin Jefferson, their sophomore wide receiver? And he has 41 receptions for 542 yards,
Oh my God.
3 touchdowns, but he's averaging about 14 yards a catch. So
he's just fast.
he is fast. And I got to say, I think that what Dallas might do might be a little unorthodox, where it's use single coverage Trayvon Diggs on Justin Jefferson, but you double Thielen. And I'm interested to see how they're going to play this on defense, because Minnesota is one of those teams that they can spread the ball. And Dallas is – some quarterbacks like to spread the ball a lot. And you see it with Pittsburgh a lot, actually,
Mm-hmm.
where they like to identify the coverage by spreading the ball to multiple receivers. And I think Minnesota is one of those teams that they are really efficient at doing that because they have depth at wide receiver. Now, granted, that loss of Kyle Rudolph getting traded to the Giants, that was pretty big because I know Kirk Cousins really liked Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah, that was a good pair.
But man, Kirk Cousins is not missing a beat, and he might be quietly having his best year so far. But with that being said, the Dallas Cowboys are absolutely having a breakout year, and that I don't think anyone saw coming. They're honestly a few plays away from beating the Bucs week 1, and then away from that, winning almost every other game.
Right.
So, but tell me, what are your thoughts going into this game?
On Dallas' side, I want to see if they're going to keep up with that formula that works, which is just keep feeding Tony Pollard and Zeke, and then let Dak chip away.
Mm-hmm.
You keep that formula in Dallas, no one's going to beat them.
No.
Just they got their one loss. They keep that formula, they got their one loss, and see in the NFC Championship. That's a scary team when they run right. It really is. Everyone likes to laugh at the Cowboys fans. They got something to say this year.
Mm-hmm.
The Cowboys came in and they were not happy.
No.
Someone took that lunch money, and they want it back.
Yeah, it was when Dak got hurt. They're like, Dak is back, Dak is back.
Yeah, they were like, wow, we really needed you. And he goes, well, I'm here. And they showed up, and we're going to, you can sit this one.
They showed up and showed out.
They're showing up and continue to show out. And it's just more and more impressive as the weeks go on.
I think this game, though, I'm kind of flip-flopped on this game, though, because I like the way Minnesota's playing, but I like the way Dallas is playing, too. They're very... I got to say, though, one thing that does concern me is the Dallas defense. They're playing good, but they're kind of similar to the Bucs defense, where quarterbacks can throw on them, and quarterbacks have thrown on them. So I looked up how many yards allowed that Dallas defense allowed. So they've allowed within, 6 games? Yeah, they're 6-1.
Yeah.
Well, 5-1. 5-1. So in 6 games, they gave up 517 yards rushing the ball. Like, teams running the ball against them, which is on average about 86 yards a game, which isn't bad.
Not bad.
Keeping it under 100, that's solid. So teams are having a tough time running against them, which is something that they struggled with last year, actually. They were actually probably the worst team that defended against the run.
Right.
But their passing defense has a lot to be desired this year. They gave up 1,700 yards in 6 games, which is, if you average it out, that's about 300 yards a game. So like they're allowing quarterbacks to throw for 300 yards a game, which is, and I look and I'm like, can Kirk Cousins, is he capable of that?
Yeah,
he is.
But that defense isn't capable of holding back Dak from doing it right after.
Exactly.
You know, Kirk Cousins would not survive a shootout.
No.
He wouldn't survive a shootout because that defense wouldn't survive.
I think a lot of teams have wanted to shoot out. I think the Vikings have wanted to win some shootouts, but especially in primetime games. But
Kirk Cousins can't win in primetime.
It's so weird. Kirk Cousins is just a quarterback that he's comfortable on like a 1 o'clock afternoon schedule
or a 4:15 matinee.
But when it's like a Sunday night primetime, a Thursday or a Monday, they struggle, and it's just so perplexing.
Yeah, no, it's very confusing with me with Kirk Cousins why that happens with him, why he just doesn't perform at night.
I think one thing that you and I were talking about off air was it's being that you're in primetime, you're up against big competition, and I think no matter who you are as Kirk Cousins and the Vikings, whoever you're going to face against in primetime is going to be that better competition.
Right, they're just going to be better than you, and that's just unfortunate.
And yeah, so going into this game, it's as good as the Vikings are, and I think they're playing very well. Their record is very misleading. They're playing well. The Cowboys are just playing unbelievable right now.
Yeah. That's going to be a tough game to watch. I'm very excited to watch that game.
Mm-hmm.
But, Halpin, with that being said, would you like to move on to give our score updates for this upcoming week?
Oh, you want to pick some games?
Yeah, you want to pick some of our games for this week?
Yeah, let's pick some games.
All right, so let me throw a couple games at you. We're going to start off with the Thursday night game, Green Bay, Arizona.
You know, I was kind of split on this game. Part of me says Aaron Rodgers has some magic, but you know what? I'm going with Arizona. I think they're a little bit more complete team, and I just don't think the Packers defense is going to be able to contain Kyler Murray.
You see, I'm going to have to keep loyalty with Arizona, man. They've been impressing me week in, week out. Rondell Moore, I feel like he's going to have another breakout game, whether it be in special teams, backup wide receiver, running back, what have you. Mm-hmm. I'm with you on Arizona. After that, we are going to move on to Pittsburgh and Cleveland.
I'm actually going to give it to you guys. I'm going to give it to the Steelers. I think without Baker Mayfield, Case Keenum is going to have a really tough time against that defense. That defense is ferocious. It's for real. And I don't know. I like you guys better in that matchup.
Yeah. You know me, I'm not going to go against Pittsburgh. But like I said earlier, if Baker comes back, it's going to be a much tougher game. But if Case Keenum continues to be the starter as projected, I can see us walking away with that one. Next game would be Philly and Detroit. Does Detroit get their first win?
You know what? I'm going to ride high with Detroit. I think they're playing well, and I like what I'm seeing. I'm taking Detroit to get the dub.
I don't understand.
I believe.
I do not. I'm going to go with Philly on that one. I don't. Listen, they are on. You understand they're on track to go winless this year right now.
Yes, but not many teams have gone winless.
But they have.
They have.
And they were on this track come this time when they did.
Well, no crap, they were winless.
Moving on to probably, I would think it's a lock. Cincinnati and the Jets. Say it. Say it.
Fuck the Bengals. I'm taking them to win this game.
There you are. Because they are what? In this situation, they're the what?
Better team.
There you go.
The better team.
They are the better team.
The Bengals.
So we are.
I hate them.
We are both on Cincinnati, and we're gonna move on to Miami and Buffalo.
I'm sorry, T. I'm taking Buffalo to win this one. I think it'll be close. A lot closer than it was previously.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree and go with Buffalo. Until Miami finds a middle linebacker, they're really not going to have much of an answer for the teams that have stout tight ends.
Yep.
San Francisco and Chicago. Like we said, this is going to be a rough game.
This is going to be a very rough game. But you know what? I'm actually going to take Chicago on this one. I think... I don't know. I smell something. Maybe I'm smelling burnt toast. Maybe it's my brains, my synapses frying. But I'm taking Chicago on this one.
I'm going to go with Chicago as well, just on sheer loyalty that's another one of my teams.
Okay.
You know, I do see a lot of disarray in both teams. And again, this is going to be one of the more underwhelming games of the week.
It is, but it's going to be, I think it's going to be a low-scoring defensive affair where it's going to be a slog. And it's going to be one of those, but whoever's going to come from this game is going to really take away something good and something positive.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next game we got is Carolina and Atlanta.
I'm taking Atlanta.
Okay.
I think Atlanta's been playing not bad. I don't like their defense, of course, but I have a soft spot for Matt Ryan. And looking at how Carolina was last week against the Giants, they struggled on offense. And so I'm taking Atlanta on this one.
I respect that. You see, this is tough because I want Carolina to succeed. And, you know, I don't really... I love Kyle Pitts, though. And I just feel Kyle Pitts is going to run all over that defense again. I feel like this past week was more to come. You know, there's just so much more to come, and I'm going to have to go with that, with Atlanta as well. Moving on to LA versus Houston.
The Chargers or the Rams?
Rams.
Oh, the Rams?
Yeah, Chargers played New England this week.
Then I'm going the Rams. Houston's not a good team.
No, Houston.
You're having one of the best teams against one of the worst teams, and I'm easily taking the Rams on that one.
Right. You know, they were pretty sure I had them going winless in the beginning of this year.
Yeah. No, I think I had them winless. You had Philly going winless.
Oh, that's right.
And then they both won week one, and then so they said fuck you for week one, and then
basically
that was pretty much it.
So we're both on LA. So moving on to Tennessee and Indianapolis. This one's more of a lock for me, but
you know what? I'm gonna go with Tennessee. I just like the way that they've been on a roll lately. And as much I think divisional games, anything can happen in divisional games, and I think it's good that Indianapolis is picking up a head of steam. I just don't see them stopping Derrick Henry.
you know, that defense has no answer for Derrick Henry.
They got Darius Leonard, but he's not the only answer.
Yeah, but as soon as that collision happens, guess what they're doing? They're throwing to AJ Brown or Julio Jones.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on to Jacksonville and Seattle. Moving on to Game 3 with Geno Smith.
I'm taking Jacksonville to win this one.
Ooh.
Actually. Yeah. I have no faith in Geno Smith.
Oh my God!
I'm taking Jacksonville to win this one.
I gotta tell you, I still have no jurisdiction to vote for Jacksonville.
I understand. I completely understand.
And it doesn't have anything to do with Geno Smith at all being a good quarterback. Trevor Lawrence ain't a good quarterback either.
That's true.
So I think I'm going to go with Seattle on the strict that coaching is better.
I agree with you. Coaching better, but
So-
Seattle still has the 32nd ranked defense in the league.
Agreed.
They're really bad on defense.
Maybe this is where we see the generational talent in Trevor Lawrence. He has to go against the worst to look like the best.
Maybe.
Moving on to New England versus the Chargers.
I'm taking the Chargers on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think this will be a lot closer of a game than people think. I don't know what the spread is on this, but I think this game is going to be pretty close. But I just like what I've seen with the Chargers. I think that one against the Ravens, that might be an anomaly but I just don't trust their defense for the Chargers. But at the same point, I don't really trust the Patriots offense. So, but I'm going with LA on that one.
I think I'm actually going to have to go against you and go with New England on that one. I smell something there.
You smell it?
That 54-point burner is still burning in my nose, man. That's a. I know who it was against.
You know their 3 wins came against the Jets twice and the Texans, right?
Yes, I get it.
Okay.
I get it. 54 points is impressive no matter who the hell you put us against.
That's true.
Those are grown-ass men. Your quarterback is 20 years old. And he put up 54 points.
Put a 50 burger.
Right, 54 points.
So you taking New England?
I'm going to take New England on that one.
Okay.
With Tampa Bay and New Orleans.
Tampa.
Yeah.
I do think that New Orleans is going to fight, but ultimately Tampa's just the better team.
They're going to sense blood and they're going to put their foot on the throat.
That Tampa defense is still not good, and that they do need to fix that. They do need to address that because quarterbacks can't throw on them.
Especially come the back end of this season. I agree with you.
Yes.
We're going to move on to Washington and Denver.
Oh, man.
That's a tough one.
That is a tough one. You know what? I'm gonna go with Denver on that one.
Okay.
I would have more faith in Washington if their defense was good this year. It's not. It's really not, mate.
It's definitely not what it was.
It's not good on. It's good on paper, but Chase Young is struggling this year. He's having a sophomore slump this year. He's not as ferocious as he was last year, and teams are kind of starting to just kind of sense him and block him. Granted, all that line is good on paper, but they're just not getting there. But with that being said, I like the Broncos on defense a little bit more. I kind of like seeing Von Miller on the field.
I respect it. I'm going to go with Washington because, honestly, I feel like that offense is better.
Okay, I
I
respect.
think Washington actually has the better offense.
Okay.
Heineke is developing quickly,
Mhm.
very rapidly. I said 2 weeks ago that the man doesn't run. The man ran all over the place last week. So he is developing.
He is developing.
I would like to see. This seems like one of the more evenly matched up games.
It does. It really does.
That's why this one's actually very hard, and I wouldn't actually be upset either way it goes. So this is going to be one of the more interesting games to watch.
Mhm.
But I have Washington, you have Denver. We're going to move on to Dallas and Minnesota. Another very, very tough game.
The Sunday night primetime.
Yes.
You know what? Part of me's smelling it.
Don't you dare say it. Don't you do it.
I'm taking the upset. I'm taking Minnesota in the upset on this one.
I'm not. No, that defense can't stop Tony Pollard or Zeke.
They can't.
They can't. Where do you see it?
I see it.
I believe.
I see it in the heart of the purple.
Sure.
I see it in the skull.
So then our final game is the Monday night game. That is the New York Giants and the Kansas City Chiefs.
This shouldn't even be a game, but it is.
Womp.
Chiefs, you need to win this game in order to stay competitive within the AFC. I'm taking the Chiefs to win this game, but man, if they don't, it's going to be tough sledding for them.
You see, because of how bad that Tennessee game was, this is actually like a tough choice. It shouldn't be a tough choice, but it is. And that's concerning for the Chiefs, that this is a tough pick. I'm going to go with Kansas City on faith that they're going to somehow miraculously turn it around. But they have openly admitted that they are not the one play fire team anymore, where they can score every time the offense touches the field. And that Giants defense keeps you on the field. They like to do that. They enjoy it.
They do.
So this is going to be a lot closer of a game than anybody expects.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with you with Kansas City. But
man, if they don't, they got some explaining to do.
So there you have it. There's our games. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is going to be a very exciting week. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, if you agree, disagree, feel free to comment on this upcoming video. Any video of the past, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. We are Let's Talk Football. Let's get ready for the week, guys. Let's get ready to buckle up, man.
Let's get ready, my brother.
All right, guys.